Is primary election night here in Oregon.
Even with the pandemic, Oregon Secretary of State says election turnout now is hovering around 40%. That was of 7 o'clock tonight. A county-by-county breakdown shows about 41% of ballots were returned in Multnomah County. One of the big races there is the vote for Portland's mayor. Vote tallies are already coming in. This is a look at how Portland's mayoral race is shaping up. Right now, Ted Wheeler at 52%, Sarah Iannarone at 22%, but this is very close. And Ted Wheeler could easily be dragged under that 50.1 vote that he would need to win outright tonight, which would mean there would be a runoff come November. We're going to keep very close track of this. It is not Ted Wheeler's race just yet. Then there's City Commission position 4, Eudaly. Chloe Eudaly, the incumbent, is facing an incredible challenge tonight from Mingus Mapps, 30% to 29%, and former mayor Sam Adams is just behind Mapps. So we have a real close three-headed race for position 4 of the Portland City Commission.
And Oregon's 2nd congressional district is up for grabs since Greg Walden, the state's lone Republican congressional representative, made that announcement that he would not be seeking another term. So the race has just been called for this, with Cliff Bentz winning this one over Knute Buehler. You can see the numbers right there, 32 to 22%. And the mayor's race isn't the only big one that we are watching closely tonight. We do want to toss things over to our Fox 12's political expert, John Horvick.
He's been monitoring the races tonight. And John, what can you tell us about what you're tracking right now?
Well, that 2nd congressional district race is really interesting. You have the three-time, I think, statewide candidate with Knute Buehler, a previous gubernatorial candidate. Looks like he's going to finish well behind Cliff Bentz, as well as Jimmy Crumcracker, who spent a lot of money, a lot of his own money and family's money to run in that race. And Cliff Bentz, just sort of steady as he goes, it looks like he's going to win that race. The other sort of big race, statewide race that's interesting is that Secretary of State's race. You have Mark Hass narrowly in the lead right now. He really sort of filled that moderate lane in that Secretary of State's race, benefited by the fact that the two other candidates, Jamie McLeod Skinner and Shemia Fagan, really were the progressive candidates and seemed to be splitting the vote some. And if he pulls it off, he's benefited by the fact it's probably a three-way race rather than a two-way race.
It's looking pretty good voter turnout, John?
Turnout looks about average. It's a little bit hard to compare to the past because the Secretary of State's, or excuse me, the county election offices are doing their best to count those ballots with fewer staff and social distancing. Leading up to today, turnout looked to be just about average for what you would expect in a presidential primary year. Average maybe is good, considering that there wasn't a competitive presidential race on either the Democratic or the Republican side, and that tends to really push turnout. But it looks about what we would expect, nothing surprising.
Are following the mayor's race, Ted Wheeler right now, you know, a lot of the write-in votes that people would have in Portland could drag Wheeler below that 50.1 vote that he needs in order to lock it up tonight. How do you see this playing out? What are you watching about the mayor's race?
Well, it's hard. It's definitely going to be a close race. Whether he ends up at 48 or 52 is probably somewhere in that range based upon what we've seen so far. Sarah Iannarone ran a very well-organized grassroots campaign that had lots of donors and activists. She's doing about as well as I think she could have under the circumstances as an outsider trying to run in a race during COVID when it's really difficult to campaign. I will say that her politics are certainly to the left, and it will be interesting to see if she does make it in a top 2 race, whether her ceiling is much above 22 or 23%, which she seems to have now, or if she can really build that up. I think that remains to be seen, and we really have to watch that election play out in the summer and fall.